Previously on YouTube's The Drawing Dead.
And I lose $355 to Pocket Aces.
More money, more money, more money.
This isn't the happy tone of voice. This is the down tone of voice.
Between concrete walls, there's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something
Overexposed. There we go. Tuesday, April 23rd, and it is poker time. And not only that, but I think I got lucky. And I think I'm going to be able to get into the 510 game today. The 510 game here runs Tuesdays and Thursdays, starts at 1 o'clock when I'm at work, and typically is pretty hard to get into after about 5. The list gets long, and the list doesn't move. And so for those reasons, I don't typically play the 510 game here. But a couple weeks ago I did, and I did pretty damn well in it. I'm going to try to replicate that tonight, but I'm not going to be able to do it if I'm just standing in the garage, huh? Let's get out of here.
Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more. It shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go and I wanna know. Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow?
Here we are, Ameristar 510 on this Tuesday, April 23rd. Is that right? Tuesday, April 23rd, 510 at Ameristar. Let's go. So recently, I've been trying to get into this 510 game a little bit more than I had in the past. I did manage to get into it, I don't know, a couple Thursdays ago. And things went rather well. If you follow me on the gram, I did post pictures of that session, although I didn't vlog any of it. Went well. Let's see if we can make it go well again today. So I called up here to Ameristar about 30 minutes ago and they had 3 empty seats. So let's hope I can secure one of them and get into this game.
Come with me. Do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know. Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me. Do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know. Do you wanna follow? I can't.
On the button, 25.
Still very early in the session, and I have a bit more than my starting stack, probably around $1,900 in front of me. My table image is good, but I haven't really settled into the game flow yet. I decided that my approach to this session was going to be to attack and err on the side of aggression in marginal spots. Here I look down at 5-6 of diamonds from late position. The table is playing 7-handed, and I can play this hand a few ways being this deep. There's a $25 button straddle, and I choose to attack it rather than open limp or fold. I make it $80. The cutoff, whom I know to be a bit on the looser side, but not a maniac, makes the call, and the action is on the straddler.
Make it 425.
He makes it $425. What I didn't know then, but would soon learn, is that the player on the button was all about the loosey-goosey. Going to war with this guy will require a better constructed hand range, and that range probably won't include the 5-6 of diamonds. This hand, as played, was most likely a small mistake. An under-the-gun player limps, and a middle position player does as well. With me in the cutoff, the King-Jack offsuit should probably be sneaking into my raising range with some frequency. However, I just limp behind. Mostly because of the maniacal small blind and my confusion as to why the under-the-gun player would ever open limp there. True to form, the small blind bumps it up to $60 and all the limpers call. I have position, but the flop really doesn't increase my equity, and when the middle position player bets $110, I just let this go.
Understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place. Do you wanna follow? There's something in the air I can't explain.
The player pool at this level isn't as big as the smaller levels, so a lot of these players know each other. Although I used to play this game years ago, recently I haven't been able to get into it, and thus the villain in this hand might think I'm just moving up and taking a shot. I'm fine with that. Being cognizant of my perceived image plays a part in how I play this following hand. No straddle on this time, and I open it up to $35 with Ace Queen of Diamonds. It folds around to a solid professional on the button who has been in this game for years. I'm actually preparing to 4-bet if he 3-bets with his positional advantage, but he doesn't. He just calls and we go to the flop heads up. This flop is excellent for me, giving me top pair in all the back doors. I bet $40, which may seem small, hoping to look weak and induce a raise, but he just calls again. I'm expecting him to have a lot of 10s here, maybe some Broadway cards and some weaker aces or pocket pairs, but that's about it. I continue my plan to look weak and induce bluffs when the 9 peels on the turn. It does complete some 2-pair combos and gives all of his Broadway cards straight draws, but when he bets $80, I just call, thinking maybe he will fire another barrel on bricked rivers. The river does brick, and betting here will accomplish nothing but getting worse to fold, so I check again hoping for the bluff, but he checks back with the same hand that I have. Well, you know what they say. Everybody loves a chopped pot. Folded around to me in the hijack, and I look down at Ace Queen offsuit, a hand that I'm happily raising 100% of the time. I choose what is becoming the standard and toss out $35. The player to my immediate left, who is a decent player that I've tangled with in the 2-5 streets numerous times, makes the call, as does the very active small blind, and we go to the flop 3 ways. 10-7-5 rainbow really does nothing for me. I'm out of position against 2 players that aren't fond of folding and definitely have a range advantage here. Firing a continuation bet would probably just be burning money, but this is a board I'd most likely float if one of them elects to bet. It doesn't come to that though, as we all check the flop. The turn, however, changes things. The ace gives me top pair with a great kicker, and the small blind leads out for $100. Raising here would be a bit of an overplay, especially with someone behind me. Although it's unlikely that I'm up against ace-king, ace-10 is very plausible, sets are possible, and I'd also be allowing Broadway straight draws to correctly fold if I raise. I'd really only be getting value from ace-jack, and that's a stretch. So for these reasons, I just call. The cutoff folds, and we are heads up going to the river. The river pairing the 5s should change nothing, and the small blind leading for the same bet amount as the turn cements that. I could go either way here between call and raise fold, but my game time decision was a quick call in a showdown. And again, I chop another pot with ace queen. At this point in the session, I was slowly cruising along, stack slowly building, even through some small dings and chopped pots. The player in the 1 seat was liberally raising and 3-betting, sometimes upwards of 5x, and I was quickly reconstructing my ranges to ISO him. Here I'm doing something you guys have probably never seen me do: open limp. In general, I believe open limping to be a horrible play, but since open limp re-raises are often assumed to be aces, kings, or ace-king at worst, I've been playing around with sprinkling it in for situations like this. With pocket 8s, my hand is right below the cusp of something I just normally open. True to form, the middle position player raises, but before I can execute my strategy, a solid winning player beats me to the punch and 3-bets to 175. Trapped between a rock and a hard place, I decide to just let this one go. In between this last hand and this next one, I went on what you would call a downswing. Not as big of a downswing as Negan gave Glenn, but a downswing nonetheless. We'll talk about that shortly. However, I did post this to Instagram. I wish I could tell you that I was crushing this game, but I'm not. I was up 1,000, then I was stuck 1,000, now I'm down about 100, so let's go. With my image now shot after taking multiple punches to the mouth, I look down on a very playable ace-4 suited from the cutoff. With a better image in this configuration with a super laggy player in the blinds and multiple callers, I'm often likely to 3-bet here. However, with my crap image, this falls squarely into my calling range. I want to just see a flop and take it from there. The raggedy 5-7 deuce rainbow board checks to an OMC type in the hijack who bets $70. This flop is much better for field callers ranges than it is for an under the gun opener, and it is excellent for my actual holding as I have a gut shot and backdoor spades. Knowing that the OMC player shouldn't be able to take much heat on this 7-high board, I'm most likely raising here the vast majority of the time. However, hamstrung by my image and believing I won't be able to get this through without opening the showers on both turn and river, I decide to just call, see a turn, and attempt to realize my equity. The king of clubs on the turn, coupled with the under the gun player now leading out for 175 into 2 players, changes this dynamic totally. There are a lot of hands in the under the gun opening range that would float this disjointed flop that now connect with this card. That, in conjunction with my actual hand not picking up additional equity, leads me to a fold. We are still at Ameristar, and it's probably approximately mid-session update time, but the issue is there's no real good mid-session update spots at Ameristar. So we're on the hunt, because we got things to talk about. Here's what I have figured out. In a mid-session update pinch, head to the parking garage. Parking garage. So my current status in this 5-10 game I'm in is stuck. Status equal stuck. Stuck amount equal probably $700 or $800, which isn't a huge deal. It's better to be up. Sucks to be stuck, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of hands captured, and I definitely didn't get the hands captured that got me stuck. So while I'm here in this parking garage, let's talk about a couple of those hands. In the first hand I want to talk about, under the gun limps, I'm next to act. I look down at 2 black queens and make it $45. Player next to me calls. 3 other players call. And we see the flop 5 ways. Flop, I think, is good for me. Jack of hearts, 4 hearts, 3 of diamonds. I make it 120. The guy on my immediate left bumps it up to 350. Folds back around to me, and I make a pretty easy call here. The turn brings the 8 of clubs, and I check the action over to him. He pretty quickly just moves in for his remaining 700 or 750. And with the heart draws out there, with the flush draws out there, I decide to make a pretty thin call, and we go to a river. River's a complete blank. I think it was like the deuce of diamonds. I turn over my pocket queens, and he shows me a set of jacks. So I lose that one.
Well, if you ask me, it's a crime the way you've been treating me. And if you think I'm going to put up with your silly nonsense any longer, you're sadly mistaken.
Maybe about an hour later, I look down at pocket queens once again. Now we're playing 5, 10, 20, mandatory $20 under the gun straddle, and I decide to make it $75. The exact same player to my left makes a call. At this point, I'd only taken one punch to the throat, so I was happy to be looking down at pocket queens again. With a $20 straddle in front of me, I open it up to $75 and get the active player to my left and a solid player on his left to call. 3 ways we go to the flop. There isn't really a lot of concern about the jack-high 2-diamond flop, and I'm very likely to still have the best hand. I mean, no one loses to a set of jacks twice in one session, right? The board is a bit draw-heavy, so I probably should have sized up a bit here rather than making it 125. Jacks and flush draws are definitely calling, and I expect straight draws to call as well. My bet does shed one of the players, and heads up, we see a turn. If I could have picked the worst turn card in the deck, it would probably be the 7 of diamonds. Although I do block the most likely flush draw candidates in King Queen and Ace Queen of diamonds, and I also block straight draws too, I'm still not a fan of that 7. That card should be improving a good portion of the field caller's range, most definitely not a good card for me. I check with the assumption that I'm going to hear from a flush or 2 pair. When the action checks through, I believe there's a good chance I'm still ahead and I'm up against a pocket pair, a jack, or a straight draw with a pair. The river does improve me to a set of queens, which leapfrogs me over the 2 pair combinations that didn't bet the turn, and I decide to check again with the intention of calling, as the player on my left loves betting rivers he's missed when checked to. I get my wish when he bets $275. There's no reason to deviate from my original plan now, and I make a quick call. Right into the face of a nut flush that checked back the turn.
Sweating because it's so...
Oh my God, no!
I look him up, and he shows me Ace King of diamonds. So I lose that one too.
Y'all can bet I'm a vet how it's supposed to be.
But don't get me wrong, it hasn't been all bad. There was another hand, the straddle wasn't on for this hand, where I looked down at King, Queen of clubs under the gun. I open to 35, the middle position guy calls, and the player on the button 3-bets me to 175. The player on the button has been playing very loosey-goosey. My King, Queen of clubs is probably still good here, so I decide to make the call. The player in the middle folds, and we see the flop heads up. The flop comes 4, 5, 6 with 2 diamonds, which does absolutely nothing for my hand. I check it over to him, and he checks it back. The turn brings the Queen of diamonds, so now I have top pair, 3 diamonds on the board. I check it over to him again, and he bets 165. I think for a little bit, and I call. The river brings the King of diamonds, so now I have top 2 pair, but there's 4 diamonds on board. I check it over to him, and he moves all in for 750. I go into the tank for a long time on this one, a couple minutes. I'm actually surprised I didn't get the clock called on me. Eventually, I do find a call, and I'm happy to hear those words, good call. I turn over my top 2 pair, and it's good. So see, not all bad. But now it's definitely time to get back in here. It's probably around 11 o'clock. I think I've been in the game maybe 4 or 5 hours. Let's see if we can finish up strong. Let's see if we can recoup some of this down 800-ness. So a couple minutes ago, I finished the mid-session update, which was more like a late session update. And I said, hey, let's go. And I said, let's go. Let's go in there, let's recoup the down $800, and let's get even. That didn't happen. So what did happen was I posted, because I missed a couple blinds, saw a hand 6 ways with Jack 3 offsuits. I flopped bottom 2 on a Queen Jack 3 flop with 2 spades, and I got it in with the cutoff that limped pre-flop. And ran into a set of 3s.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
So we're out, we're done. All my chips are gone, and I don't feel like buying any more right now. So 510 at Ameristar, in for 1,500, and out for nothing. I have nothing. No chips left, no money, 0. That sucks. But on the good side, this is just one session and a lifelong string of sessions, right? So this one I happen to lose. I'm sure I'll win again. Hopefully. But with that, we're out of here. We're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna get home at a semi-decent hour. I think it's not even midnight yet. So, thanks for watching. If you like the vlog, hit the thumbs up icon, leave me a comment, and I'll probably respond. And I will catch you next time. Bye. Coming soon on YouTube's The Drawing Dead.
Reunited and it feels so good. Have to go with his flush draw. I would imagine he's not folding. Yeah, he's gonna go to the river and see what it brings.
Did I follow Obama back though? I don't.
Oh my God.
I'm an angel 95% of the time. The other 5% of the time, I'm batshit cray.
And he makes it 750. This isn't good, my friends. Because of the straight draws out there, because of the flush draws out there, because the pot's already whatever the pot is. I tank for a while beside, and I make a pretty easy call here on this jack high board. I mean, and with the jack, knowing that I'm dealing with a player that is more than capable of betting missed draws, and also knowing that I'm in payoff wizard mode, Tuesday, April 23rd, and it's poker time. It's raining. I did manage to... Tuesday, April 30th. But the issue is, there's no real good... But the issue is, there's no real good miss session up. I opened to 35. Opened to... He is the epitome of the river card. The river card brings... I go into a tank. I'm actually surprised I didn't get the call. Eventually I find a... and I got it in with the cutoff that limped. And I got it in with the cutoff that... So 510 at Ameristar, in for 1,500 and out for 0. Down for but on the good side, this is just one stretch and a...